Yo, Coulter, what's up? Howdy, buddy.
Good to see you.
What's happening?
Well, we've got your Mustang live right now, believe it or not. Happens to be right over here.
Seller's remorse.
Really?
Yeah, you know, it really is a great car. And I know I've had a bunch of Mustangs in my life, still, and have another.
Come sneak
You know,
past.
a Dan Gurney edition, which ironically is also on Bring a Trailer right now. And it's interesting to compare the two because this car is so far more advanced technically and from a sophistication point of view. It's really phenomenal. And you know, I was thinking about it. It really is a true GT car.
Definitely.
That you can take to the track, you can drive to work, you can put your kids in the back seat. There's just nothing it doesn't do well.
How does it fit in at the yacht club?
I think at the yacht club, it certainly gets the attention of anyone, you know, under the age of 50.
Sure, sure.
And anyone over the age of 50 is probably too stiff and old like me to get in it.
Well, we may have an interesting alternative for you to take a look at, but I tend to agree. It is quite an interesting car, and I would be very curious to see how it compares to the earlier Dan Gurney car, which is the previous generation Mustang, if I'm not mistaken.
Two previous.
Yeah, there you go.
And you know, the monkey in the middle, in my opinion, is the Boss 302.
Right, you've said this before.
Which is really, and all three of them in sequence is really pretty fascinating to see the progression. And I could tell you Ford really got it all. They got all three of them right, you know, over a period of 20 years, basically.
And it's interesting because it's the GT gets the 5-liter.
Right.
So you'd expect the GT350 maybe to have a decent amount more displacement, but it's really just an extra 0.2 liters.
Yeah. No, they're
Oh, look who we got.
You guys talking about this car? I love this car. It's beautiful.
How long were you hiding in the bathroom, Steve?
Well, you know, it was those burritos.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
So, I'm sorry to interrupt you guys, but how many miles on this?
I think about 8,000.
Wow. Yeah, that's right. It's
And-
very low.
Right, and this is that isn't that a twin overhead cam engine?
No, it's a 4-cam.
A 4-cam engine.
It's a 4-cam, 32 valve, flat plane crank. Basically, it's what Ferrari, you know, came out with when they broke the mold with the flat plane crank. And this is
Coyote engine?
yeah, this is a Voodoo. This is a Voodoo, and the Boss 302 is Coyote.
Gotcha.
And
And we have the man who built its signature here, hand built with pride. Not that I can read cursive.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a lovely engine. The only, honestly, I had no performance complaints from my time behind the wheel. The only thing I found funny about it is they went for plastic valve covers.
yeah, that in a way surprises me. You know, you're right. I'm sure there was a reason. I don't think it was.
Is it
Because
weight savings?
Yeah, well, could be that, and it certainly, you know, this car was not built to a price.
Right.
This car was not there. You know, was not. It was. It's an incredible bargain relative to its peers, but you know, it was expensive for a Ford Mustang, and there's no evidence of cheapness,
Right.
in any way, shape, or form.
Is this a wrap on it?
It's a wrap.
It is.
Yeah,
So
and I think it's actually pretty cool
Did you
because
do that?
no, I didn't. I bought it that way,
Mhm.
and I'm it's the first car I've owned with a wrap, and I tell you I like it. And you know, you don't like it, you can take it off. In the
Yeah.
meantime, the paint's protected.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
Someone
you say-
asked a
is it-
question.
Is it? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was saying someone mentioned that in the auction comments.
Right. So
Mhm.
it's-
Is it a wrap?
And that's for. Is it more for protection than looks, or
Both.
because this is it's a very dull finish.
For
you know,
sure.
Very matte.
Mattifying.
Yeah.
I think it's for both. It's protection on the one hand, but it does have a look.
And that was the answer I went for. It's a little bit of both.
Yep.
You know, it's not the full sticky paint protection film, but it definitely gives you a much larger degree of protection than, you know, ceramic coating would, for example. So yeah, quite a lovely car. I've been super impressed with it. I think, you know, we might be a little cooped up in here if there's a better
We got
place.
a lot of cars in here.
Yeah, we do have a lot of cars in here, and a lot of variation and variety, and maybe something more age appropriate for Charles to test and tune.
Well, I tell you, I've had a bunch of Buick Rivieras. This is a 65. I've had a really nice 63, which I actually sold to Wayne Carini.
Wow.
And then I had a 64 with a Webasto sunroof that I bought from the original owner, which was actually one of my favorite cars.
So can you tell that we've been painting this car?
Yeah, I guess certain evidence of that. Yeah.
Is there anywhere we can go where we're not cluttered in and distracted? Because I thought we were going to talk about this Mustang.
I think there probably is a place we can go. You know, I think there's we're fortunate to be living in the beautiful northwest corner of Connecticut, and happens to have a very famous automotive destination.
Let's go.
Let's hit the road.
All right.
Let's hit the road.
I'll get in back.
Open your door for you, sir. And you can fit 3 full-size gentlemen in the Mustang GT350 with a little bit of difficulty.
I didn't slide the seat forward.
I'll slide the seat forward. Oh, wow, wow. Oh.
Okay, now I fit.
All right, we're inside. Wow. 3 fully grown men. That's not bad.
Not bad.
That's not bad.
And you know, room for a baby seat.
Yeah. Truly.
Room for a baby seat.
Alrighty, well, we fit, don't we?
We fit. Yep.
What do you have to say back there, Steve?
Well, you know, I'm wondering what this this album is. Talk about old school. This is vinyl.
Whoa.
It's Carroll Shelby, The Career of a Great American Race Car Driver, signed by Carroll Shelby, Charles.
Yep, that was given to me by a very close friend who picked it up at Riverside Raceway in 1964 or 5, and Carroll Shelby signed it to him at that time, and he gave me the records. In fact, I've got 3 others, one for Sterling Moss,
Wow.
one for the Marquis de Portago, and the other for Dan Gurney.
Wow.
And they were a series of records that were, you know, made in the early 60s, you know, about race car drivers. And I've actually not listened to the whole thing, but they're interesting.
Did you have it digitized?
No, I've got to probably get that done.
That.
Yep, got to get that done.
So for the members of my generation that have no idea that that even exists, you're telling me that it's not music on that record, it's a story?
It's
It's like the original version of a podcast, kind of.
original version of a podcast with a lot of racing, you know, and background noise.
Very cool.
And
Well, it looks like we're beginning to arrive here.
we are arriving.
What a lovely
Tony.
place.
We're arriving at a you know, famous place.
Hello to Tony.
Yep. Hey, Tony.
So tell us a little bit about the track, Charles.
Well, you know, Lime Rock Park was built in 1957 in this valley, a beautiful valley in northwestern Connecticut, and was designed by the legendary John Fitch. It was bulldozed by the owner who, this was originally a gravel pit. It basically remains unaltered in its original configuration, and as such, it and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway are the only 2 racetracks in America on the National Register of Historic Places. And this is absolutely one of the births of sports car racing in this country. This is one of the original tracks
Gorgeous.
that existed, and
Look
it
how
is,
beautiful it is.
yep,
Absolutely stunning.
yeah, especially today with little rain. The grass is very green, and
And it looks like we've got the place to ourselves today.
we do. GT350 which is right up. I can see it's clearing up a little bit in the distance. They're basically, the hills completely surround the track. So it's got a bowl effect, and there are no grandstands, so you can come here and sit on the grass and have a fantastic picnic and a view and move around and not have to worry about finding a seat or anything like that.
So it's more like a park,
It's a
Lime
park.
Rock Park.
It's
Wow.
a park. It is a park.
Yep.
And every famous driver in their day in the 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s raced here. Major league events went on for all of those decades. And we're now in the A paddock. This could be chocker block full with 18-wheelers and race cars on many weekends. There's going to be a NASCAR race here this year, which will be very interesting, a truck race. And normally, again, sports cars, IMSA, Trans Am, and vintage racing, of course, and then lots of club activity, which is it's a home track for so many people. And it's just a very special place. And we're going to head over to the Skip Barber Tower, which was named after Skip, who owned the track for many, many years and really made it absolutely the fabulous place that it is. He made many, many improvements. And it's an honor to name the tower after him. And
There's the name.
Yep, there it is.
Right up there.
And he, of course, was really the godfather, along with Bob Bondurant, of racing schools.
Can we get out on the straightaway?
Yeah, I think we can.
I promised the vice president of operations that we would have no shenanigans, and that was a condition of us being here.
No shenanigans.
Yeah.
Well, there will be no shenanigans. There will be no shenanigans.
Now it depends what do shenanigans consist of.
That's right.
Well, I'm too fat and old to partake in shenanigans, and I'm actually thinking that we may need to go out in some other way. Or can I get in down
Yeah, this
here?
is the new layout for NASCAR that they did.
Right, so this has been extended. So
Yep.
here we are, the new NASCAR extension.
Very cool.
And they're going to have 36 trucks, and therefore they'll need pits for, at least 36 cars.
So they lengthened the pit.
Yeah, they've lengthened the pits, and they've lengthened the turn in. You have to actually turn in fairly quickly, and actually we'll go out.
Yeah, wow, it's right at the end of the corner there.
Yeah.
You used to have some straightaway.
Yeah, now you really don't, and you gotta
Yeah.
you've got to turn in very quickly.
Yeah.
Right.
I suspect there's going to be, with 36 NASCAR trucks, I suspect there's going to be a little action. So we're on the main straightaway, heading with the Sam Posey straightaway, named after the legendary Sam Posey, and we're heading down to the start-finish line, and top speed of 175 miles an hour has been recorded on the straightaway, so that's pretty fast. So here we are.
All right, let's hop in. Ah, what a day! What an opportunity! Look how beautiful this is. Totally gorgeous. Totally gorgeous.
Voila.
How was it back there, Steve?
A little tight.
Little tight? Little tight? Wow. Look at us. Historic Lime Rock Park.
I was happy as a clam at 250 pounds in my Recaro seat.
There you go.
Glad you were comfortable.
I honestly, that's for someone my size. It is perfectly comfortable.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, and as far as Recaros go, I think they're the most
Yep.
forgiving
Yep.
ones that they've ever made.
Yep.
Wow, look at this car. It's in its natural habitat. I mean,
tow hook standard or is that added?
No, that was added and never been used. In fact, you know, I have only been around this track or any track in this car about 4 laps, and that was not even with me driving, but
Right.
with Simon Kirkby driving.
right.
And it's only really had about 10 track laps in my ownership, and I don't think much before that.
Yeah,
Yeah, but look at it. It belongs on the track.
it
Oh, yeah.
definitely
Look
belongs
how,
here.
Look how it looks right at home.
Yep.
Yep, it does. And it was very, very impressive with Simon, our head instructor, driving. It really was. It was very predictable. He could do whatever he wanted in terms of throwing it around or not, and I felt, totally comfortable in it. And
Very cool.
just it's so planted and so secure. And I think this is where Ford really has gotten it right. This is a very sophisticated car.
For sure.
Can
From
we
it.
go? Can we go over there and let's talk about how much we think this thing is going to sell for? Let's walk over there.
You can walk
It's
over
easy.
there.
You want to?
You guys
Sure.
go ahead.
Okay.
You think you can do a burnout, Charles?
Well, I think in the rain, I think I don't want to.
There's no crowds for, the Mustang to consume. They're very good at, they're
Yeah.
known for that, right?
Yeah,
They're the crowd plowers.
I don't want to. Blow it for if there's a potential buyer may object to my burnout.
Yeah.
Got to
You
be
may
careful.
very well.
Got to be careful about that.
Nice and smooth. Steve, what are we doing out here with a picnic table in the rain?
I know. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to play a little bit of The Price is Right for this car that we've had so much fun with. And we're going to sit down. But before you do that, I'm a little cold and it's raining.
Got just a solution.
Wow, that's
Hold
a gentleman
on.
right there.
I think I saw it in the back seat when
Usually it takes
sitting back there.
a pretty lady or something for a coat to be offered up, but Steve, you make the
Here
cut.
you go. The world's most exclusive Carol
Wow.
Shelby Cobra jacket.
Wow.
Fits
Check
you.
that out. Look at that.
It fits you perfectly.
Thank you.
Absolutely fits you perfectly. Number 98. That was the original number for the Terlingua Racing Team AC Cobras.
All right.
There you go.
So what we're going to do is we're going to sit down, and there's a couple pieces of paper here because the top one's getting wet. But I think I'll go first, and I'm going to give you things I know about the car, things that I think about the car, and then I'm going to write down a price. I'm not going to show it to you, and then we'll all do that. So I know that that's a low mileage car. It's got 8,000 some odd miles, and that's going to be a plus. I don't like the wrap. I don't like the matte thing. I think it takes away from the car. And what I think is interesting is that Hertz has a bunch of these Shelbys, but they're not real Shelbys. I think they're the 5.0, but they're selling them for 52,000 with 50,000 miles. This has much less miles. It's a better engine. So I'm going to say, now those are convertibles, which is less enthusiastic type of car for the track, but could be more desirable for the general public. But having said all that, I have my price. I'm going to write it down. You guys go look away.
You're looking away. Taking in the beautiful scenery.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absorbing the raindrops.
All right.
Give her a flip.
Here we go. We're good.
Got
Okay.
a number.
You or me,
next.
sir?
You go next, Colter.
Sure. Well, I happen to be the one selling the car, so I've got some insider information. I do know what our reserve price is, but I won't disclose that, obviously. The current bid, as I'm sure you both know, is $42,000. Now, obviously, that car is not going to cross the block at $42,000. I do agree with you on the fact that I don't know how I feel on the wrap. I like the fact that it protects your paint, but I don't like the fact that it gets rid of the glossiness of the paint, which I think is a huge plus on that car. Now, that being said, the mileage is super low. We have alluded to the fact that Charles is, an older gentleman that's owned the car. And with a car like this, I would definitely worry about it being a track rat. And I think we've done a good point of proving that this car has been well cared for. It hasn't been abused. So for a low mileage example, hasn't been abused, and it's not heavily modified, I've definitely got my number. And I'm going to throw that down here, if you two mind just giving me some privacy.
All right.
Okay.
And I am severely dysgraphic, so please excuse my chicken scratch here.
Yep. Okay.
Charles, that leaves you.
Well, it's my car, so I obviously want to see the highest price. I think these cars are great cars. They're not good cars, they're great cars. And they will be one of the last true, almost analog. It's got very little in the way of electronics. Muscle cars probably that will ever be built, because we can see how the world is changing very, very quickly. And if you had to be left with one great internal combustion car for the rest of your life, this might be a car you'd want to own, because it sort of checks so many boxes. Why am I selling it? Arthritic hip, bad knee, 250 pounds, a wife who doesn't like to see me drive fast, a bunch of other cars that are slower and more comfortable. But I love it, and I wish I didn't have to sell it. Finding another one, maybe if my hip gets better, probably could still do that. But I'm not so sure I'd get one. And I like the wrap. I mean, I don't see where there's zero downside on the wrap. Take it off.
Fair enough.
Take it off.
Fair enough.
And someone's paid, $2,500 or whatever it was to get it done. So why not just live with it and be happy that your paint's protected?
This is a good point.
So anyway, I will put down my number, and we'll go and we'll see what happens.
Avert your eyes.
Well, it was raining terribly, and we had a little break, and now it just started to come back.
Yep.
Done?
Yeah, I got my number.
All right. Let's go in under the roof and put this stuff away, and we'll reveal it later.
I'll show you mine if you show me yours, Steve.
Well, that was fun. A little drier here upstairs on the Skip Barber Tower. Thank you. When we were over at next place, didn't Coulter say something to you about having something more age appropriate or in the same wheelhouse of price?
He mentioned something about that. I was curious to see what he has. Well, wait a minute.
I think I have the perfect replacement for Charles and Mustang. 2009 W12 Bentley Continental GT350.
Wow. Look at that.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Well, let me tell you something. A little bit of history for everyone. W.O. Bentley was the person who made Carroll Shelby famous. And I don't know whether you know that he designed the engine in the DBR1 Aston Martin that won the 1959 Le Mans race, which Carroll Shelby was the driver in the Aston Martin. Probably his most famous victory.
He designed the engine?
He designed the engine in the Aston Martin, and it was a great engine that had a wonderful run in DV2s, DV3s, DV3Ss, and it was a twin overhead cam 6-cylinder of about 3 liters, 2.9 liters.
And there he is now.
So capital J juxtaposition, am I right?
Oh, that's gorgeous. So, yeah. You can certainly get in and out of that easier.
I can get in and out of it, and it's got all-wheel drive.
It
so
does.
that on a nice rainy day like this, I won't get myself into trouble. It's a flat 12. It's got comparable horsepower.
It does, and it's a comparable price in theory.
And it's an 09
It's an 09
versus the
17.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously beautifully maintained.
Yep.
What kind of mileage does it have on it?
29,000.
Wow.
Quite low.
That's
And
low.
most importantly, it just came back from German Auto Repair in Watertown from a $27,000 repair.
What was that?
Brand new top, air struts in all four corners, brake pads all around, hood struts and trunk struts, and then there were a few other things as well. But all said and done, it was $27,000 in
Wow.
repair.
Wow.
Well, that sort of in and of itself is a little scary.
Yeah.
It's a big number. For maintenance. Hopefully there was dealer maintenance and there are other records involved.
Correct, there are. It's got a great Carfax and a nice book of records prior to that big invoice. So, yeah, couldn't be more of a different suggestion, I would say.
Well, it would be comfortable. It would be safe. It's a heavy car.
It is.
I mean, the amount of value for the money, an 09, but that is nothing these days. And what was the price of that new?
Over 200. Well over 200.
Wow. So
Close
I
to
mean,
3, actually,
I
believe.
Really?
Well, it's
I
not-
think in the twos.
The VW, I'm sorry, the W12 is the biggest engine that you could get in the GT versus the V8.
The V8,
the majority of them, respectively.
Well, and you also may know, and I'm trying to get a good price on this thing. I'm a buyer, not a seller. Let's be clear about that. That engine was used in the Volkswagen Phaeton.
Yes, it was.
And-
Which was one of the most unknown supercars.
It was a great car. I loved the Phaeton. It was an 05, and it had a special reclining back seat option. It was actually made by Campagnolo, who makes the gears for racing bikes.
Interesting.
Beautifully, beautifully engineered car. I had it for a number of years, never had a problem with it.
There you go.
And it was the same engine.
Yeah.
And it was a huge failure in this country, but a big success everywhere else in the world.
Right.
Well, wasn't it like a $100,000 car?
Yeah, and I think people had a problem with a $100,000 Volkswagen.
Absolutely. If I
The
spend
VW badge,
And,
if I have a $100,000 car, I want it to say something that has a little
Right.
more prestige, even
And-
like Audi.
and it was very soberly styled. It didn't it didn't sort of shout out, what it was. And I think that just didn't crack it.
we
And
weren't ready for stealth
No.
wealth yet.
No.
Yeah.
We weren't.
it reminds me of the Subaru SVX that I had, which was also a fabulous car, but a failure because no one was going to pay $40,000 for a Subaru in 1991.
Right.
But it was a terrific car.
All right, well, I'm getting cold even with this beautiful jacket on, so let's wrap up, go to the shop, and take a look at the numbers.
Let's do it. Do you want to drive the Bentley back?
Oh, well, of course I want to drive the Bentley back.
All right.
There you go.
I'll sit in back of the
Hold on.
Bentley instead.
Yeah, there you go. Bentley, sir.
Okay.
Let's rock and roll.
In fact, yeah, we can do. I'll passenger with one of you guys. And
Bentley.
Oh, so that's not Charles's Mustang. Charles is now in the Bentley with Steve, so I'm very curious to see what he thinks of it. The Continental GTC W12 from 2009, low mileage car, as you guys saw, and I think it's perfect for him. This is, a very raw, sporty, uncomfortable. I mean, it's not uncomfortable. We did just fit 3 of us in the back, but definitely the Bentley is the car for Charles. I mean, he's just such a regal figure, such a classy guy. And this is more of like a blue collar hero, I mean, ooh, definitely fun, even in the rain. But yeah, I think he'll much prefer that Bentley. And at a very similar, very, very, very similar price point, I think it's a pretty cool trade. A lot of differences between the two. You really can't even compare them other than price. And yeah, I'm hoping he likes it. Hoping that Steve convinced him that it's a good choice.
all right, So this is a Bentley.
Okay,
Put your seatbelt on.
I got it on. The throaty throb of a V12 of about 550 horsepower, and off we go in the rain. Gotta figure out my wipers are. Coulter is going to lead us in the Mustang, and that really is a thing of beauty. Wipers are now going off, but this is very civilized, this car.
It's beautiful.
Very civilized. And
So if so we I guess we're thinking the range is well, right around 60, give or take. Is that for something like this?
you know, Coulter would know better than me, but I think so, yeah.
You know, the only thing is the '09, is that getting old for even today's cars? I mean,
Well, I don't know what the wrap is on Bentleys or Rolls's as far as electronics beginning to fall apart and having to, or be unfixable at a certain point in time, and that's a very scary thing. I think no one's really thinking about what's going to happen if they can't reprogram or they can't find the electronic parts anymore. And that's why I really do like the analog cars from a collecting point of view. I just think that they can be and will always be able to be fixed. And I think it remains to be seen what's going to happen with all these electronics.
I'd like to apologize in advance for the camera work that I'm doing here, because it's got a gimbal on it, and it seems to...
The one thing I don't like on this car is that the windshield wipers are making a racket, and it's raining like cats and dogs.
Yeah.
I think it would be, sort of super silent, but they're making a screeching noise.
Yeah, I think that's just the blades.
think
But
it's
I
just
mean, you'd think a car like this wouldn't just have your Anco wiper blades, but who knows?
You think this, maybe just needs new blades,
Or some Rain-X.
or something, yeah. But it's, I mean, if that's the biggest problem this car has, I would call that a high-class problem.
Right.
If that's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
The seat is heating up nicely, and it is getting chilly out.
Yeah. No, it's
It's in the 40s.
welcome
right now.
welcome to the foothills of the Berkshires, where it can be cold at any time.
This is actually an attractive color combination. It's sort of a really a clotted cream on the outside and inside. It's very much a ivory rich cream color. And
You wonder if I'm imagining that the replacement of the top would be more about age than it was about anything else. It probably faded a bit, probably maybe got a little bit of wind noise after the years, or... Escape to the indoors, and it's time to reveal our bids. I'll reveal mine first. As I said, I think that I don't like the wrap on that car, but I do like the low miles. It is a special car, and I came up with $58,000.
What about you, Charles?
well, again, I'm the owner. I want the highest price, but I actually came in at a lower number of $54,995. being a little concerned about the macroeconomic world that we're living in right now on the one hand. On the other hand, this might be a great time to be buying a car like this because maybe other things are going to get more expensive and this will float up with them. And as I said earlier, they're not going to be making cars like this in 5 years' time. There's just no question about it.
All right.
Well, I
And-
guess I'll finish this off. First and foremost, I am guessing 61,000, and that may be a little bit high, but I have a few reasons for that. First and foremost being that this is actually our 115th Bring a Trailer auction, so my guesses are usually reasonably accurate, but I agree with you, Charles. There are definitely some macroeconomic factors at play. I think this being a newer car will bring its value up a little bit versus, people looking. There's a segment of the market that is looking for a new car, but also willing to consider a semi-used, new-ish car, which this falls into the category of, and it may be a good example for a gentleman to convince his wife that, it's a reasonable time to get into an expensive sports car, or a reasonably expensive sports car, because a regular new car will be far more expensive. And of course, they aren't going to make many more like this. It's a Shelby. They never go out of style, and this one's been incredibly well kept. I think they average at about 55, so I think this one is slightly above average. That's why I'm at 61.
May I ask another question before we close up? And the mileage is, to me, a blessing and a curse. It's too low to just rack up miles. And if it was 30,000 miles on this car, I wouldn't have any trouble, driving to California and what have you. But once you get into it's under 10,000 miles. If you own it, what's your opinion about saying, well, I don't want it to be, if I keep it under 10,000 miles in the next 20 years, it's going to be so rare. And then all of a sudden you're not really using it, you're investing in it.
Sure. And I think as an investment, and Charles, I'm sure you can speak to that as well, any financial guru will tell you if you are planning on investing, don't do it in a vehicle, do it in the S&P 500 because you will get better returns year over year. However, I think this is probably a good case for a car that may appreciate pretty aggressively in a 20-year, 2-decade period, just because, naturally aspirated cars are becoming less and less common to roll off like a new assembly line. A lot of things are turbocharged for emissions requirements and, what have you. So, yeah, I think there's a very good possibility that this will appreciate.
Okay, real quick, will the new owner put miles on it or keep it low?
I think we're selling it to a younger guy who's going to drive the piss out of this thing.
Charles, what do you think about the mileage question?
I hope whoever buys this car really loves it as a car, and I hope they drive it and drive it frequently, but are mindful of not just putting miles on it gratuitously. But it really wants to be driven. You want to enjoy driving it. And that's why you're buying the car, because you enjoy it, not because it may be a good investment. I think you play your cards right, modest mileage, well maintained, and you'll get years of pleasure and probably not lose any money and hopefully make some money.
All right.
Well
with
said.
That, thank you very much. This has been great.
Yep.
Going out to the track a treat. So I hope everyone watching enjoys it, and we will see you on Tuesday when this thing hits the hammer, and hopefully Poulter is right and maybe even's a little low. Thank you, everyone.
I hope so.
Yeah. Bye.
To the moon.
To the moon.